hasn't the earth given us any sign? The village elders wondered aloud. The gods must be displeased. They decided to consult the shrine of Agui, the powerful deity who watched over their land. The Agui shrine was known to be a place where the truth could not be hidden. Anyone stood before it with lies in their hearts would be exposed. When the time came, Nneka was brought before the shrine. She was weary and heartbroken, her eyes swollen from crying. The villagers, including Chibueze, gathered around to witness the ordeal. The chief priest, an elderly man with deep lines cut into his face, began the ritual. He called upon Agui to reveal the truth and punish the wicked. In a small village, there lived two brothers, Obinna and Chibueze. Both brothers lived on a developed piece of land left to them by their father. The land was fertile and abundant, providing the brothers with all they needed. Obinna the elder was a man of peace, content with his portion of land. Chibueze, on the other hand, was ambitious and greedy, always yelling for more. Obinna was married to a beautiful and kind-hearted woman named Nneka. They lived happily together, blessed by the gods with a simple but joyful life. Chibueze, however, was consumed by jealousy. He coveted his brother's portion of the land, believing that he deserved it all. One dark night, Chibueze's greed overtook him. He waited patiently until Obinna was alone in the forest gathering firewood. And with a heavy heart and a darker intention, Chibueze crept up behind his brother and struck him down with a sharp machete. Obinna fell to the ground, his life draining away with each heartbeat. Chibueze stared at his brother's lifeless body, a mix of fear and accomplishment spinning within him. He quickly buried Obinna's body in the forest and returned to the village, fabricating an auspicious plan to cover his tracks. The next morning, the villagers were shocked to find Nneka crying desperately, for her husband had not returned home. Chibueze played the part of the concerned brother, joining the search party that combed the forest for any sign of Obinna. But days turned into weeks and Obinna remained missing. Chibueze, seizing the opportunity, began to spread rumors. It's strange, don't you think? He whispered to the villagers. Nneka was the last person to see my brother Obinna. Perhaps she knows more than she's letting on, he said, and that very moment, the seed of doubt was planted, and soon the villagers began to suspect Nneka. Why hasn't the earth given us any sign? The village elders wondered aloud. The gods must be displeased. They decided to consult the shrine of Agui, the powerful deity who watched over their land. The Agui shrine was known to be a place where the truth could not be hidden. Anyone stood before it with lies in their hearts would be exposed. When the time came, Nneka was brought before the shrine. She was weary and heartbroken, her eyes swollen from crying. The villagers, including Chibueze, gathered around to witness the ordeal. The chief priest, an elderly man with deep lines cut into his face, began the ritual. He called upon Agui to reveal the truth and punish the wicked. Nneka knelt before the shrine, trembling as she raised her hands to the sky. "Great Agui," she cried, "I swear by the spirits of the land and my ancestors, I did not harm my husband. I loved him with all my heart. If I speak falsehood, let the earth swallow me whole. But if I am innocent, let the truth be known." The villagers watched in silence, their eyes fixed on Nneka. The chief priest sprinkled sacred powder around her, chanting prayers that rose to the heavens. For a moment, the air was still, heavy with anticipation. Then, without warning, a strong wind blew through the shrine, knocking over the offerings and extinguishing the flames of the candles. The villagers gasped, the chief priest's eyes widened in shock. "The gods have spoken," he declared. "This woman is innocent." But desperate Chibueze, in order to maintain his deceit, stepped forward and said, "It must be a mistake," he protested. "She is hiding something. We cannot let her go free." The chief priest, however, was not easily swayed. "Agui does not make mistake," he said firmly. "The truth will reveal itself in due time." As days turned into weeks and life in the village slowly returned to normal, but Nneka was still neglected by many. She lived in isolation, her spirit broken by the unjust accusations. Meanwhile, Chibueze grew bolder, assuming control of Obinna's land and wealth. He believed that he had gotten away with his crime, that his brother's spirit was gone forever. But the spirits of the land do not rest easily when blood is spilled unjustly. Many weeks later, Chibueze slept soundly in his hut. He was visited by a terrible vision. In his dream, he found himself standing in the dark forest where he had killed his brother Obinna. The trees seemed to whisper Obinna's name, and the ground beneath him began to tremble. Suddenly, Obinna appeared before him, his eyes glowing with a forceful, unearthly light. "Brother, why did you do this to me?" Obinna's voice echoed through the forest, sending chills down Chibuzo's spine. Why? Why did you take my life for mere land?" he asked again. "The earth cries out for justice, and the gods have heard its plea." Chibuzo tried to run, but his feet were rooted to the spot. The vision of Obinna grew larger, looming over him like a mountain. "You cannot escape the truth, Chibueze," the spirit warned. "The time for justice has come." As Obinna's voice echoed through the dark forest, and with a loud scream, Chibueze awoke, drenched in sweat. He looked around his hut, but the vision of his brother still lingered in his mind. He knew then that his crime would not go unpunished. The next morning, Chibueze's behavior became erratic. He wandered the village, muttering to himself, his eyes wide with fear. He no longer slept, tormented by nightmares of Obinna's spirit. The villagers began to notice his strange behavior, whispering among themselves that the gods were punishing him for something terrible. Days later, Chibueze could bear the guilt no longer. One evening, he staggered into the village square, falling to his feet before the chief priest. "I will confess," he cried out. "I killed my brother Obinna. I took his life to steal his land, and I blamed his wife Nneka for my crime. I did all that out of greed and jealousy. I no longer have peace. The gods are after me day and night. Please, have mercy." The villagers were stunned into silence. Nneka, who had been passing by, stopped in her tracks, her eyes wide with disbelief. The chief priest looked down at Chibueze with mixture of pity and anger. "You have brought great sorrow upon this village," he said. "The gods do not forget, nor do they forgive easily." Chibueze was taken to Agui shrine, where he was made to confess his sins before the deity. The chief priest declared that Chibueze's lands and wealth would be stripped from him and given to Nneka, who had been wronged. Chibueze was banished from the village, left to wander the land as a cursed man, haunted by the spirit of his brother until the end of his days. And as for Nneka, the villagers came to her one by one, offering their apologies and gifts, hoping to make amends for their unjust treatment to her. But Nneka, though she accepted their offerings, knew that the pain of losing her husband could never truly be healed. She lived out the rest of her days in peace, tending to her land and honoring the memory of her husband, Obinna. The village, having learned a harsh lesson about greed and injustice, prospered under the watchful eyes of the gods. And so, the story of the widow and the land of blood was passed through down the generations, a reminder that the truth will always prevail, and that the spirits of the land do not rest until justice is served. The end. Did you learn something from this story? Let me know at the comment section down below. And if you haven't subscribed, please do well to subscribe, like, comment, and turn on the notification bell in order to be notified first in every of our new videos. I love you all and see you soon in our next story. Bye-bye.